is Three Things with your host, Gene Church. By now you have certainly heard about Amy Coney Barrett, and some of what you know about her is actually true. Judge Amy Barrett is an outstanding jurist and a constitutional scholar, and we are very fortunate that President Donald Trump chose her to be able to sit on the High Court very soon. Unlike virtually all other nominees to the High Court, Judge Barrett is not a graduate of an Ivy League school, but in fact part of Middle America. A 48-year-old, she was raised in New Orleans. Her father was an attorney, and she attended Catholic school in nearby Metairie. She graduated college at Rhodes College in Memphis, magna cum laude, and was admitted to law school at Notre Dame Law. She graduated at the top of her class. She taught for 15 years at Notre Dame's law school, teaching civil procedure, constitutional law, and statutory interpretation. She has served the last 3 years on the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. The faculty at Notre Dame unanimously recommended her for the court. She's a textualist. She believes that you read the Constitution or legislation, and what you end up doing is following what it says rather than what society wants it to say. If confirmed, Amy Coney Barrett will be the first female conservative on the High Court. In 1999, Barrett married fellow Notre Dame Law School graduate Jesse M. Barrett, a partner in a private practice in South Bend. Previously, though, Jesse had worked as an assistant U.S. attorney in the Northern District of Indiana for about 12 years or 13 years. They live in South Bend. They have 7 children, 2 of whom they adopted from Haiti, 1 in 2005, and 1 after the 2010 Haiti earthquake. According to U.S. District Judge Patrick Schlitz, when Barrett's youngest biological child was diagnosed with Down syndrome during a prenatal screening, she chose to keep the baby. Barrett is a practicing Catholic, and she's also been active as a participant in a small, tightly knit, non-denominational, charismatic Christian community called People of Praise. Founded in South Bend, the self-described ecumenical covenant community is associated with the Catholic Charismatic Renewal Movement, but not formally affiliated with the Catholic Church. About 90% of its members, though, are Catholic. Judge Barrett has had the opportunity to see the type of pushback she can expect to get during her confirmation 3 years ago when she was up for the Seventh Circuit. Senator Dianne Feinstein questioned Barrett about a law review article Barrett co-wrote in 1998 at age 26 with Professor John H. Garvey, in which she argued that Catholic judges should in some cases recuse themselves from the death penalty cases due to their moral objections to the death penalty. The article concluded that the trial judge should recuse herself instead of entering the order. Asked to, quote, elaborate on the statements and discuss how you view the issue of faith versus fulfilling the responsibility as a judge today, Barrett said she had participated in many death penalty appeals while she was serving as a law clerk for Scalia, adding, my personal church affiliation or my religious belief would not bear on the discharge of my duties as a judge. And it is never appropriate for a judge to impose that judge's personal convictions, whether they arise from faith or anywhere else on the law. Worried that Bennett would not uphold Roe versus Wade given her Catholic beliefs, Feinstein followed Barrett's response with the saying, quote, the dogma lives loudly within you, and that's a concern, end quote. Feinstein's comment was viewed as an improper inquiry into the nominee's religious belief that employed an unconstitutional religious test for office. In a 2016 speech, Barrett had described Justice Scalia's view of originalism, a concept which she claims she adheres to. Quote, the Constitution means what it meant to those who ratified it. He interpreted that text as people would have understood that text at the time it was ratified. His rationale for this was democracy. That is the enacted text. He went through the process of ratification of constitutional amendments to become law. And if we change the law now to comport with our current understanding, or we want it to mean what we want it to mean now, then it ceases to be the law that was to have democratic legitimacy. So he believed that change should come from the democratic process, that change in the Constitution should come from the constitutional amendment, and statutory change should come from the Congress or the state legislatures. That the Constitution didn't call all the shots. That change and social change, the Constitution set a floor below which you can't go, but that above that floor, there's a lot of room for democracy, for the people to add additional protections and to make changes. So Justice Scalia resisted the notion that the Supreme Court should be in the business of imposing its views as societal mores on the American people. He thought that things that were in the Constitution that were not declared off limits were up to the people to decide. Simply put, Barrett's youth, philosophy, and intellect will likely lead the nation in a more traditional direction over the next quarter of a century. Democrats are freaking out. By now, they are aware that they are unlikely to be able to stop Barrett. They have unloaded both barrels into Justice Kavanaugh and lost much of their credibility in the process. It is unlikely that anything that is said is going to slow down the process leading to confirmation. But it won't stop Democrats from trying. If they can't stop there from being a Justice Barrett, perhaps they can use it to elect Joe Biden and retake the Senate. While concerns about abortion is likely to be the biggest concern about Barrett, they realize that that is not likely to move the needle appreciably with their followers and with the people that are in the middle. And while I'm confident that the Democrats will ignore the concerns about a religious test for the Supreme Court, such a move carries a tremendous risk to the Democrats. After all, Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi claim to be part of the same religion as Barrett. So finding a way to attack without muddying Biden could be difficult. Despite these two choices being perilous, count on hearing members of the press, or as I also refer to them, lackeys of the Democrats, and the Democrats themselves lunging at these two issues. But they have found a different topic which they hope will resonate with the voters. Given that health insurance was a positive for the Democrats in 2018, they are looking to use it against the Republicans this time. There is a case pending against Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, in November. The reality is that this case could result in overturning the ACA, even without Barrett's involvement. But should she stand against the ACA, it certainly could throw the case into a decision of unconstitutionality. Barrett was critical of Justice John Roberts' majority opinion in National Federation of Independent Businesses versus Sebelius. Roberts' opinion defended the constitutionality of Obamacare's individual mandate by characterizing it as a tax. However, Barrett disapproved of this approach, saying, quote, Chief Justice Roberts pushed the Affordable Care Act beyond its plausible meaning to save the statute, end quote. She signed a letter criticizing the Obama administration's approach to providing employees of religious institutions with birth control coverage without having the religious institutions pay for it. Already, Democrat members of the Senate have refused to meet with her prior to hearing. There are individuals that have gotten on Twitter and other social media sites and tried to justify dealing with the children being from Haiti and trying to make a point concerning that particular issue. That is to say that she used her white supremacy to be able to go and adopt 2 black children from Haiti, and that is a potential problem that needs to be looked at and addressed by the court as well. That does not seem to resonate with the public, and I think they'll have some problems with that. As to the situations that were concerning the many different options that they've got available, expect Justice Barrett to direct those who attack her faith to look at Article 6 and Clause 3. That is, no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. This clause contains the only explicit reference to religion in the original 7 articles to the U.S. Constitution. When the dust settles, we can expect to see upset Democrats, elated conservatives, and a Justice Amy Coney Barrett. And beyond that, a better nation. Tomorrow night, I'll be addressing the upcoming presidential debate, or how to successfully function in a debate with sundowners. For the three things, I'm Gene Church.